What is the new empire that has been created, and what is the new status quo for both Godzilla and Kong moving forward? For years, these two alpha titans have battled for dominance over the titan community, and each have had their share of influence over the ancient beasts. While Godzilla handily remains the undisputed king of the monsters, Kong has now carved his own place right alongside Godzilla as a formidable force to be reckoned with, one that just got a lot more powerful. So today, Heralds of the Titans, let's discuss the future of the Monsterverse, talk about some of the new information that we learned in Godzilla x Kong. So, of course, spoilers will lie ahead for the new empire. Let us begin. Perhaps the most significant revelation had to do with the fallout of the ancient war between the Kong and the Gojira. Until now, we had been led to believe that it was a whole army of Gojira who took part in this big conflict. As it was explained in the new empire though, it was Godzilla, and Godzilla alone, who imprisoned this tribe of great apes, and earned the ire of the Scar King. Which leads us to question what else we may have yet to learn about the history of the Titans. We know that Godzilla was once a proud member of an entire race of Gojira, but it seems that they had all but died out by the time that this faction rose to dominance. This leaves us with a couple of possibilities for what really occurred. Option 1 is that this uprising is separate from the war between the entirety of the two factions, which is evidenced by the existence of Kong's axe. The axe was not found in the subterranean regions where the colony of great apes were imprisoned and banished, and we also don't believe that the Gojira scale powering that weapon came from Godzilla. If it did come from another Gojira, then it's possible that this was its own war, and that once the Gojira had died out, only then did the Scar King lead an assault against Godzilla, one of the last of his kind. Since we know that Godzilla gets stronger with time, then it's possible that he was now able to hold off the remainder of the great apes. But until more evidence comes to light, this theory remains more speculative as of right now. The second option though, is that the scale did in fact come from Godzilla, and that this was a serious injury inflicted on the king, since there is only one that we know of, but it's possible that they took one of Godzilla's dorsal plates to power the axe. He could have driven them out of the throne room where the axe was left behind, taking the fight to the subterranean regions and ending the fight with the rest of the apes being left in exile. As for the Scar King, we learned that he did in fact have the ability to influence other titans. As we theorized earlier, the Scar King does this by utilizing a hollow earth crystal to cause Shimo immense pain, especially whenever she disobeyed his orders. And this opens up a completely new avenue to explore in the Monsterverse. It proves that artifacts within the hollow earth can cause pain to titans, and presumably those who have had this same form of energy coursing throughout their system. And this leaves us to wonder exactly how this power may be used in the future. Since Godzilla never actually took any power from the hollow earth in the film, and Kong is not an energy-based titan, then the Scar King was able to use this power against either of them. Initially, we believed that Godzilla's pink form was a result of the pink radiation found in the Iwi colony temple. The radiation comes from solar flares, and from the titan known as Tiamat. And in a later video, we'll be sure to break down everything we know about this previous Alpha Titan. So be sure to keep an eye out for our breakdown of Tiamat. However, Shimo was freed from the grasp of the Scar King eventually, and elected to follow Kong on her own free will, act as more of an enforcer for Kong rather than an involuntary prisoner of the Scar King. But she does seem to be obeying Kong as of the end of the film. What's interesting about this is that Shimo is described as a world-ending threat, having caused the first ice age, and this means that she certainly has a claim to the throne of an alpha. If Shimo wanted to, she could certainly stand to challenge either Kong or Godzilla, and even if she didn't want the crown or would win, she certainly has the ability to venture out as an alpha of her own. There is no reason why she has to remain loyal to the great apes or anyone if she doesn't want to. This firmly divides the worlds though, but seems to unify the titans, as the symbiotic bonds between the titans appears to be healing the community and the earth itself. Now that Kong has a symbiotic relationship of his own with Shimo, this again adds to the relationship between Mothra and Godzilla, as essentially Queen of the Monsters and the King in Mothra and Godzilla ruled the surface world, and now it appears as if the Queen of the Hollow Earth in Shimo and the King of the Hollow Earth in Kong will rule that domain. We know that the relationship between Mothra and Godzilla is one that has presumably lasted millions of years, and we also know that these bonds are extremely difficult, if not impossible, to break, as Mothra was able to hold off the call of an alpha from Ghidorah and was loyal only to Godzilla. For the first time in a long time, the monsters are beginning to form colonies, jurisdictions, and territories that we haven't seen on this scale before. Kong rules the Hollow Earth with the remaining apes and Shimo, and Godzilla remains the king of the surface. But now, he, Kong, and Shimo all seem to be allies with one another, or at the very least, maintain a begrudging respect and balance of the Hollow Earth and the surface. It was confidently stated on a few occasions by Dr. Andrews that if Kong remains underground, then Godzilla doesn't have a problem with him. But now if Kong comes to the surface, it seems like Godzilla may be willing to at least hear him out momentarily. What's fascinating about the ending of the new empire is the Titans are forming new bonds with one another that we haven't seen before, reminiscent of Godzilla and Mothra. For the first time, there are multiple co-alphas, each with their own reach. Kong and Mothra appear to be the protectors of humanity, one represented in the Hollow Earth and one represented on the surface. This symbiosis does extend to humanity too, and not only does Monarch have a place in this relationship, but it too does with the Iwi, which brings us to another point about the ending. For a while we thought that Gia's premonitions and her psychic ability would confirm the existence of telepathic abilities among humans in the Monsterverse. Gia is not only psychic on Earth, but we now know that the rest of the Iwi exclusively communicate through telepathy. In the original generations of Godzilla, these telepathic powers have been used to communicate with, and even tame titans. Most notably in the story of Miki Sagusa, she was able to communicate directly with Godzilla. She was also able to not only communicate with him, but calm him as well. And if we're taking this into account, it seems as if Gia will in fact be interacting with multiple titans as she did with Mothra and Godzilla in this film. And now finally, we want to touch on what we believe will be the next great villain of the franchise, which may have been foreshadowed by just a single line. We've released a full video on this concept though, so be sure to check out our video on Space Godzilla and why we believe his existence is hinted at as the Zos-Lahawa. The line in question though in the film is when Dr. Andrews refers to the idea of a Gojira eating a star. This is a reference to the Iwi legend again of the Zos-Lahawa. The Zos-Lahawa was said to be a Gojira that roamed the depths of the Hollow Earth, unlike Godzilla, who remained topside for much of his life. And according to the legend, the Zlahawa ate a star and was turned wicked, turning the attention of the great apes and the remaining Gojira alike to unite against him. We have speculated that these could be the pieces setting up a version of Space Godzilla, especially given the prevalence of crystalline imagery across the Hollow Earth, and the Zos-Lahawa being banished to the depths of the Hollow Earth in the Iwi legend. But again, be sure to check out our full video on this concept that we will link below. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of the ending of the new empire? The formation of the new empire being the Kong and Shimo, and the re-establishment of the Surface World Empire in Mothra and Godzilla. What are your thoughts on the brand new Titan rulership and hierarchy, and were you ultimately pleased with the new empire as a whole? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel today. Atomic blast that subscribe button if you haven't, and have a great one.